Hello and welcome back to blackgirlcouch Reviews. I'm your host, Christina. This is our final podcast feedback that we are going to be doing for House of the Dragon Season 2. We're pretty much not even going to discuss the episode. Mimi had sent some feedback. I wanted her to get her thoughts out for the last 3 episodes because after the latest episode, I don't want to watch a show that I don't enjoy watching. And instead of continuing on talking in a podcast, I think I've made my thoughts clear on that's not something I'm interested in doing. So, after the 3rd episode, after the introduction of another green character that we're supposed to hate, after watching Rhaenyra make decisions that all are without any fault, which is fine. I like that Rhaenyra is the a la Queen Matilda. In the future, maybe she's going to do some things that are really interesting. And I am happy for those that are going to be happy to be rooting for it. But I personally, I've yet in 2 seasons up until, well, it's only been like 11 episodes. But still, there's only going to be 4 seasons in this, so we're halfway through. And I'm not rooting for our protagonist. I don't feel like she's done anything to earn protagonist status other than she has the right. She's a good mother. These are all great things. It doesn't make me want to start rooting for her. I don't see as much in the character as I do in the Alicent character, which I found fascinating, but her characterization is being so demolished at this point. I can go into my problems, but I really want this to mostly be about Mimi, and then I'll at the end come in on why I am discontinuing, because I can't even say anything positive about this latest episode other than I'm rooting for the black people. Let's hop into the mailbag.
Mail, motherfucker!
What up, Stina? It's Mimi. This is my feedback for House of the Dragon. I'm doing like a combination of this is 2 and 3. Well, I guess 1, 2, and 3. I don't think I sent feedback for episode 1. I don't think I made it in time. Doesn't matter. This season is already starting to irk me, and I don't know how I'm gonna feel about it. My issue right now, honestly, well, after listening to your podcast with 1 and 2, Alicent is still annoying to me, but in a different way. I feel like her and Rhaenyra are like opposites, and I don't know if they're trying to make them complete opposites and just make like everything look ironic. I don't even know if that's the right word with her and Kristen Cole, but their relationship is getting on my nerve. But right now my issue is with Daemon, so I'm going to be ranting on him for a little bit. I don't want this to be 45 minutes of me just complaining, so I'm going to just get straight to the point, and I'm not going to go on for a long time. So I'm just going to give you my feedback based off what I've seen so far. I remember last time we talked about this show. This was after the finale of season 1. And you were telling me about Blood and Cheese. And first of all, I would like to say that like I didn't Google anything. I was like, I don't even want to know. At this point, it's going to take forever for it to come back. I'm probably not going to remember anyway. I don't give a crap. I hate spoilers, and I like just falling into stuff. That's why I stay off of social media until after I watch the episode, because I personally like to be surprised. But I can tell you, when you first told me about Blood and Cheese, I thought it was going to be like some type of terrible dinner like the Red Wedding. I was just prepared for blood and cheese to be something awful. I thought it was going to have something to do with rats, like blood, poison, and cheese, and it was going to that every like I don't know if you know how rat poison works, but I didn't know until till I think it was like 2019 when there was this epidemic in Illinois of people lacing weed with rat poison, and apparently it kills rats because it makes them start bleeding out of all of their orifices. So I imagined it was going to be some type of babies dying because they ate poison cheese. So color me surprised when blood and cheese were people, but that's neither here nor there. I remember on TikTok, one of the creators I follow, she was just talking about how why didn't Damon just be clear? And I was like, I didn't read the books, but I remember saying like, one of my friends read the books and they said that Damon sent blood and cheese specifically to kill those babies. I don't remember exactly what you said, but I remember you said that it was babies that were killed. So I was like, this must be what she meant. Um, she was like, I don't really care about what the book says. And I was like, I don't either. I'm not going to read the book. Sounds boring. The way it's written, I've seen like little passages of it, and it sounds like something I don't want to read. It just doesn't. I like when it's fantasy immersed and you're in the character's vision and you're seeing what they're seeing. I don't like secondhand telling, and in all honesty, the way it sounds boring. Um, that's neither here nor there. Um, but I was like, I think they're trying to make the story kind of play out how it's like major events play out how it's supposed to play out, but they don't want Damon to seem like a bad guy. But newsflash, he already is. Like you told me season one, how he literally killed Lanar so he could marry Rhaenyra. He's not a good guy, and I first of all, I don't understand why people think the man is attractive, because he looks so fucking weird to me. I don't like I know standards of beauty are different in different countries, so I'm not gonna assume that my idea of an attractive man is right, but everything I've ever seen him in, he looks weird. Like, he doesn't look attractive. So I don't think it's the makeup. I don't think it's the lace front. That his lace front is laid. I would like to say that. I don't know who's doing the wigs on this show, but they really nailed it this season. But that's neither here nor there. Um, he's not good. He seemed to have groomed his niece, and I know I can't say that I am very extremely familiar with what grooming is, but we saw him bringing your niece to like a sex club is never acceptable. Like, I don't care how cool y'all are. It's not like y'all like there's I've met some um nieces and nephews, or um uncles, nephews, nieces, uncles that are the same age. And it happens. I've seen it. So it's not like y'all grew up together and y'all like cousins. No, you're older than her by a normal range. And you took her. How old was she? Wasn't she like 14 or 15 at that time? I don't know. But you took her to a sex club and you ended up marrying her after her husband died, or I guess he ran away in this timeline, whatever. You're not a good guy. There's no way. The way that you treat your children, your daughters, their mother died, and I haven't seen you have an interaction with them at all. You're not a good person. So the fact that they are treating Damon like this, and not just, he's a villain, let him be a fucking villain. He will do anything to get on the throne, so just let him do that. I don't understand why we're making him kind of a villain. It annoys the shit out of me. It reminds me of what they did with the man in the black hat um, from Westworld, and then what they did with Negan. It's like you make them a bad guy, but then you don't want to make them, like, you want to slowly reel it in, so at some point you can redeem them. No, he cannot be redeemed. He started off as a bad guy. We've never seen him be good, but just making him a little bad or less bad isn't going to change anything. Like, I can't stand it. And I think I see the writing on the wall right now, and it makes me not want to watch it. I can't go through another Negan storyline. I can't go through another Westworld storyline where it's a bad guy, but we're gonna somehow try to make him redeemable. I never seen the redemption in, or even like, okay, Negan made an atonement maybe a little bit when he saved Judith. Okay, but he's still not a good guy, and y'all got to stop acting like he is. And I don't want to go through this again. Like, I watched The Walking Dead, and every time Negan was on my screen, I wanted to gouge out my eyeballs. I can't do this again. So if this is where they're going, I'm not gonna sit here and do this. I'm not. I don't want to. I'm not. And I can't stress that enough. Like, I feel like this is what they're trying to do. I think changing stories when you're doing an adaptation from a book to a television is good. I think you should change it, even when it's in a movie, because it gives the books readers something that they're not predicting. And I've seen shows that I've read the book for, and they go a different route. I like that because I don't want to be able to predict what happens. I like things changing, but when someone is a villain in a book, either you make them the fucking villain or you change their character altogether. But don't do this middle shit. And that's what I feel like they're doing, and it's pissing me off. Why can't a villain just be a villain? And the truth of the matter is, there's gonna be some Reddit group that's gonna like this man no matter what. And that's just real. That's human nature. Some people are just trash, and they love watching trash on television. You don't have to make him a little bit like there's women who literally write to serial killers who like sexually assaulted multiple women, murdered them, and they got caught, and they have a fan club, and women send them panties and marry them while they're in prison. So you're not going to sit there and tell me that Damon not being a villain is going to change people like him. It won't. So I just don't understand why we got to sit here and see this half villain. It's very annoying. The other thing I want to talk about really briefly is the Alicent relationship with her kids. First of all, I knew Eamon was a little off, but seeing him that last episode, I am like 97% sure I see him breastfeeding. That was fucking weird. And I know that's a fetish. Men do it. I know. Nothing surprises me anymore. But like, sometimes I feel like HBO and like the Game of Thrones type of, movie or television um franchise likes just putting naked shit in the naked shit, because there was no reason for us to see his little penis. Like, absolutely no reason. Like, granted, he was butt ass naked, but like that whole scene was so gross, and I didn't enjoy it at all. um I don't know. I just like everything about that whole like Aegon just opening curtains, and we seeing a girl like sucking on a penis. We see a threesome. Like, why is this shit necessary? Like, you ain't. I know he the king, but y'all just let motherfuckers just open up curtains and like at brothels. I feel like that shit shouldn't be allowed. But anywho, um, some of their naked scenes just be unnecessary and annoy me. Like Allison getting her vagina ate by Christian Cole. I didn't need to see that. I mean, y'all could have done a lot of things, but that scene wasn't necessary. I hated the fact that Allison was in there having sex. Like, I don't know, like the timeline. I don't know how, like the time, but the kids were sleeping already, so maybe it wasn't that late. But the fact that Helena was still awake, I don't think it was that late. But anyway, like everything about that whole scene, I didn't like how they had Helena act. I get, direction, You know, when actors are directed, they are told to do different things. But I felt like she should have had more like emotional, like, you know, please don't make me choose, don't do this, like, you know, or like even like why don't you just kill me? I'm the queen. You know, kill me, don't kill one of my kids. Um, um, and I thought she had three kids, and I thought they were all three sons, but I guess the twins were a boy and a girl. But I thought she had one more. I thought there were three kids. But the other thing, it all makes sense to me when I watched episode 3 why Helena would act the way she do, because it seems like, you know, they don't have any emotional intelligence, all of them, because they didn't learn any. One of the things that I remember learning in psychology, child psychology classes that I took when with my first undergrad degree was, um, you know, when like it helped me learn why I react the way that I do to things, because you learn how, like, you each thing you learn in childhood helps you as an adult. You have things like, you know, those kids that lives are perfect and they don't have anything bad happen to them. Like, let's say the first real tragic thing that ever happened to them is they don't get into their first choice of Ivy League school. And some of them have nervous breakdowns and they go shoot up fucking schools and shit because they don't have anything to draw from. Not like they've never had any kind of emotion happen to them when they're younger to draw from, to know how to cope with it, because they're throwing a tantrum basically like a toddler because nothing bad's ever happened to them. And I feel like Allison, clearly when her mom died, Otto did absolutely nothing. He probably left her alone. He probably made her deal with it by herself. One of the things you said in your uh, your second, it was episode 2, you were talking about how complicated Allison's, you know, relationship with, you know, her reaction to Aegon was. And I think it's pretty simple. Like, it doesn't seem complicated to me. She wasn't comforted during her grief of her mother's death because Otto was off doing whatever. He clearly doesn't coddle her. He doesn't give her any emotion. He probably has never even told her he loved her. So she doesn't know how to comfort her kids in a grief like this. I feel like when I saw Aegon crying and Allison just walked away, I was like, that's exactly what you deserve, because that's literally what he did to his wife slash his sister. Even if you don't know how to comfort her as a husband, that's still your fucking sister. You don't know how to comfort her from loss. Like, you don't know how to, like, you know, you lost your dad. Y'all both lost your dad. You don't have anything to draw from. Clearly they grieve the way that we saw them. They don't do anything for each other. They just leave them alone. And maybe Allison thinks that's what you're supposed to do, or maybe she herself doesn't know how to help him because she doesn't even know how to help herself, so she just left him alone. I just feel like um that's the way they handle things. On the flip side, Rhaenyra, when she lost her mom, she had her dad comfort her because he was grieving their mom too. So she has something to draw from to help Jacaerys, you know. And it looks, and even their betrothed, like the way Jacaerys has Baela, is different. You know, it's like they're complete opposites in that regard, which is, I think, is hilarious why Christian Cole ended up with Allison, the older version of Allison, when he was with the younger version of Rhaenyra. Um, and he was a different person then too, but now that he's bitter and angry and, you know, vindictive and petty, he ended up with Allison. But I mean, I don't know that it's necessary he's doing this intentionally because of Rhaenyra. I don't know that his relationship with Allison has anything to do with Rhaenyra like that, but I just think it's like a comparison, like the opposites. His heart is cold and terrible, and now he ended up with Allison. But when we first introduced him, he was a very sweet, kind, caring type of a person. But, you know, bitterness and pettiness is one of the reasons why I always say jealousy is a useless emotion. It doesn't do nothing but cause people to be, it causes people to kill, it causes people to start wars. It's really a terrible emotion that people should learn how to deal with it, because it's internal. You need to figure out why you're jealous, why you're angry, and stuff like that. And he just clearly didn't. I think I've rambled on enough, so I'm going to end it here. um I don't think I have anything else to say, but if I do, I can just add it into the next feedback. So until next time, love, peace, hair grease, and black girl magic. Queen of the couch, Mimi out.
Do you know how you know a show is not good? When you could talk 23 minutes about your thoughts on the show and not offer one positive. There was nothing in that feedback, like myself within these episodes, where I'm like, I'm searching for the moments I liked. I'm hunting for them, and they don't exist. So you basically covered a lot of what I felt about Damon's character. I too do not find him even the slightest bit attractive. He was on Doctor Who. A lot of people, that was his debut, okay? And his fandom is chasing him everywhere he goes, except he ain't really been in nothing, so I don't know why they're so domineering. And yes, the thing about, I really feel these nasty ass people who be trying to ship this shit, some of them, they're like, you know what, it's fictional, and I like the chemistry between these two for whatever reason, and I'm going for it. Okay, if that's what you want to do, fine. I know I could be really harsh. And I keep thinking about that episode of television where it's like, you can't judge people on how they watch TV. But I also feel, on the other hand of that very same talking out of the other side of my mouth, that yeah, I can judge people about how they watch TV, especially if they're watching something and completely taking the wrong message from it. This man watched her be born. And like you pointed out, yes, at 14, at the bud of her emerging sexuality. First, y'all need to go back and watch the first season. Some people need to go back and watch the first season because they have forgotten all of the events and they don't want to be reminded. And if you do remind them, they'll just pick a straw man's argument. So it's really no use. I always block it. I see it happening and then I block it. Because I know that the next thing, I don't, that's another thing. I don't think I like shows where it has this type of attractiveness to the audience. I can watch The Acolyte in a bubble because I don't go anywhere near, and no one goes anywhere near me with any Star Wars content for the most part. So I don't have to really worry about that. This show, and there was another show, like there's a lot of new people that's gotten into the Interview with the Vampire where I'm just like, I wish you weren't here. Like, you're kind of ruining my experience with your ridiculousness and your commentary that and I don't mean like regular following the show. I mean, trying to make it your platform for whatever else thing, and you're going to do anything you can to shoehorn in everything that doesn't even fit to make your case while ignoring everything else. And I hate that with something I particularly like. So with something I don't like at all, like I thought the first season was okay. I didn't think it was nothing to write home about. But this season feels even more fanfare. It feels like Rhonda went out and read some fanfic in the interim and it was like, we should add stuff like this in. Like the whole Kristen Cole bullshit with, it's not even that mind that her and Kristen Cole are having sex and that's hypocritical of them. I think that's fine. That's a character arc. You can have her confronted with her own actions that she would have looked down on. Never mind though, people keep forgetting it wasn't just that she slept with Kristen Cole, it's that she was trying to fuck her uncle, is what really happened. Kristen Cole basically was the after effect of her Lady Blue Balls. He was utilized in that fashion, but he's a grown-ass man, so he needs to take accountability for his role. And then later on, he's the one that says, I don't want to be a queen's whore. So he's being the epitome of a hypocrite. Allison was like, well, maybe at 14, you shouldn't be fucking your uncle in a brothel. And I feel like she had the right to say and bring up these things. But I also was recently, because someone just got into the show, and they're like, and I peeped it too, because they have a tendency to pick up on things very quickly. And it's like, I know Rhaenyra didn't just steal, because Allison was definitely giving him looks. And she noticed that Allison was giving him looks. And then she went and chose him as her sworn protector for the reasons that were fine. But he was definitely looking at her and she was looking at him. But she knew her friend was also kind of having a crush on him. But no one points these things out in Rhaenyra's camp. And the show certainly is trying to make it seem like Kristen Cole and Allison are both in love with Rhaenyra, and Allison is the truth. This is the articles that are coming out. That's why I can't deal with it anymore. Like, I can't. It's too much bullshit around. And I don't have the tolerance to keep smelling it all day. So I got to move on. I got to get out of that situation. But Daemon being the villain, yeah, I don't know why this is very hard to accept. You killed your first wife, you're a shitty dad, you groomed your niece. Oh, you were asking what grooming was. So grooming, because a lot of people would disagree with it, and I don't know how, because he known that child since she was a child. I'm sorry, if you have seen them when they're a baby and they're 8 years old and you've been bringing them gifts and everyone knows that that's your favorite. No, it's what genetic sexual attraction. It was what happened. I think I was talking about this case, about how she was separated by her birth father, because she didn't know it, but he tried to kill her. And then she went to an adopted family. They loved her. She had no issues. She was a straight A student. And then right at the cusp of her 18th birthday, she decided to meet her birth parents. Well, she met her mom first, and then her dad basically started, they had a lot of things in common, and it became a sexual relationship. And he had a child with her. And then eventually she realized, oh shit. And then he killed her and their child like he intended to do when she was a baby. Really fucked up situation. The point of it is genetic sexual attraction does happen. Daemon was always leaving, going away, coming back with gifts and all these stories of afar. So she became, in my opinion, infatuated with someone that was allowed, the only one of the young men allowed in her particular circle. So grooming is when can take place online or in person. It's usually employed by a family member or someone else in the victim's circle of trust, such as a coach, teacher, youth group, leader, or others who naturally have some interaction with the victim. The victim's selective. They observe possible victims and select them based on ease of access to them or their perceived vulnerability. He was jumping all over her too, right after she lost her mama. Gaining access and isolating the victim. Where's she been at this whole entire time since Laenor? She been on Dragonstone. Not at fucking King's Landing learning the task of how to rule the kingdom like she should be learning, but being isolated at Dragonstone having his babies. Yeah. So that's a problem. Trust development and keeping secrets. Oh, I'll take you to this brothel, but keep this secret. So much you're keeping this secret that you're lying to your father and you're swearing on your dead mother's soul. Desensitization to touch and discussion of sexual topics. Abusers will often start to touch a victim in ways that appear harmless, such as hugging, wrestling, tickling, later escalate to increasing more sexual contact, such as massages or showering together, looking at porn, or taking your niece to a fucking brothel. I don't know why they're backtracking on this. They put all the shit in there for season. That's why I don't like it with season 2. Because in season 1, these notes were here. And in season 2, they're like, oh, well, the popularity's over here, so let's do it. And then George R.R. Martin also has a hard-on for Damon, the character, possibly the actor. Allegedly. Because I just made that up. Attempt by abusers to make their behavior seem natural. For teens who may be closer in age to the abuser, it can be particularly hard to recognize tactics used in grooming. Exactly. So basically, yes, he groomed her. And he groomed her based on her natural genetic sexual attraction. Also, the whole thing about it can occur after close relatives are reunited after a long period of separation. Again, Damon coming back for long periods of time, and then him coming back, that might have created the genetic sexual attraction between Rhaenyra to her uncle, and her uncle sure as shit exploited the shit out of it. And yes, because someone actually had the audacity to tell me this. Someone goes, well, she betrayed her friend first because she sexually propositioned Viserys. And I'm like, when did that happen? She was sent to his room to talk to him about his toy model while looking, yes, attractive. But if you're really trying to convince me that I have a 15-year-old daughter. If you really try to convince me that this child I'll be looking at every day is somehow the seducer in a situation when there's a fucking 40-year-old man, you're out of your goddamn mind. Like, where is everyone's morals going? Like, there's moral flexibility, and then there's, what the fuck are you talking about? Seriously. What the fuck are you talking about? So at that same innocent age that Lena was at 12, just think about that in 2 more years. Do you honestly think that little girl in 2 more years is going to be ready to fuck? No, she's not. But guess what Alicent was doing with that walking diseased corpse? Okay? She even got a little baby son, which they finally brought up in this episode because they were mad. Everyone was mad about Darian because she has another son. He was never brought up before. Now they brought him up, and he supposedly has his dragon. He's enough to ride it. So whatever age they decide they want to have him at, because they need another dragon rider on the green side. This is probably why they aged him up and everything. But he's supposed to be the youngest one of the babies, because the greens don't even really have any dragons. There is no war as far as back and forth because Alicent, I hated the prophecy. I don't understand why we needed the prophecy. The prophecy was dumb as shit. It's just all that stuff because they're trying to play around and fuck around and be like, well, we can fix some stuff from Game of Thrones in here. Leave the shit alone. The prophecy, we didn't need it. It was unnecessary. It was something like you said, I'm okay too with them changing things from the book and keeping me surprised, keeping me on my toes. Foundation did it all the time. I have no problem with that. But if you're going to change something from the book, especially when you're going to decide not to put anything that was in those scenes in the book, then you have to have something that's solid. And this whole fucking, I'm doing it for altruism reasons. You already had that reason to take the throne. Where they fucked up for me is with the Greens, because they have a legitimate reason to be scared of Rhaenyra to have wanted to usurp that throne. Because, like it was pointed out in the books, most of the freaking, no matter how many were sworn to Rhaenyra, most of the kingdom was not going to support a queen. Especially a queen. I mean, you honestly could have just given it to Rhaenyra and let her fuck up within 6 months, because that's how long it would have taken. But they didn't want to because of Daemon. Daemon hates all the Greens, right? He's married to Rhaenyra. All of the other lords are still misogynistic at this point in time. So if they have a chance to rally behind Aegon all this time, or they were rallying behind Aegon, that would have been a reason to, no matter what, have to take him out, which would have made Alicent's reasons for siding with her side of things like, okay, clearly it's not because I want to be the greatest mom in the world. Clearly it's it's not because I'm really power thirsty and need to be in control. Not because I'm a dumb bitch, because that's what some people are going around calling her. It's like, geez, do you need to take all of your vitriol anger at, and I've called people dumb bitch, but I don't think it's dumb to mishear something and not know what the prophecy was, never heard about it before, and then your friend be like, oh shit, you fucked up. He was talking about this prophecy. And then now you realize, well, it doesn't matter anyway, because what I would have done, it didn't, Otto said it. It never mattered. It never mattered if you were okay with this. What would have put her okay with this would have been, I can't trust that your side will not try to take out, like particularly Daemon will try to take out my son or Aemon. Because that was the basis of it. It was, the Greens are always going to be a problem. They have to be taken out. And vice versa. There was that thing that was always hanging over them, because all this is, honestly, is a war between family members, and the rest of us is going to have to suffer. I can see the writing on the wall too, having him haunted in the castle and having him put tears in his eyes. And, oh, I didn't mean to. How do you not mean to? But she was just sitting there right in front of everybody, and you had, like, you didn't have a, oh shit, I fucked up look. You had a, and then what happened? It was only when your wife was like, the fuck did you decide, oh, maybe I messed up. No, it, like you said, why couldn't he just say, kill Aemon or be done with it? Aemon, no one else. Aemon, no one. It's very simple. It's so stupid. I hate the hoops that they're jumping into. And I can already tell that they're going to give Rhaenyra Nettles' storyline. Because Nettles is not introduced as any of the dragon seeds, and all the other dragon seeds are being introduced. And Sheepstealer, which is Nettles' dragon, is going to be introduced in the show. And sure, they could still bring in Nettles, but at this point, I don't even care. Like, I was fine if they switched it up with Rhaenyra, but Rhaenyra is a whole different story. Whatever. I would have gotten over that point. But it don't even make sense. Like, what would have to happen for him to decide he wants to be interested in his daughter? Oh, you decided to get a dragon. Now I'm going to be sorry. Or now they're setting it up like, oh, I have a lot of remorse in my soul. You can't be choking her out one minute and talking about how your brother should have crowned you as the king because you deserved it. Then the next minute be trying to put a crown on her head talking about, I will always defer to you. It is sloppy. It's transparently sloppy, the writing that they're doing with the characters that don't deserve it and do deserve it. Ted Bundy got married in prison, by the way. See, yeah, people are fucking weird. They will. They're willing. Those type of women are willing. They're out there to excuse everything and anything. I'm laughing about your expectations of blood and cheese. And before y'all be at me, she did ask me to tell her what these things were about. Yeah, Nettles was a good character because she wasn't a part of any of this bullshit. She was someone who can ride a dragon and learn to ride one of the 3 wild dragons. I would love if they brought Cannibal in, only because I just want to see him. But Nettles was able to earn herself a dragon based on her merit. And that was a huge part of the story because Daemon had this, he believed that they were rightfully these dragon riders, which made them morally better than everybody else. And realizing that that wasn't the truth of his life, that's where he started, I wouldn't say there was a redemption, because like, you ain't coming back from killing kids or your first wife or the other murders that you did commit. However, he did, the one thing he did do was make sure that Nettles was not taken out by Rhaenyra. Like, cause she wanted her dead because she just didn't trust the dragon seeds. And while it was, everyone thought she was his daughter, everyone thought she might have been his lover, he left her alive, and she might have, I think she did survive the Dance of the Dragons. She's one of the few that survived. I'm disappointed not to have Nettles the character, because she was the only authentically black character in the entire series, written as such. So while, yes, I don't mind having the other black characters that we had, making them the most powerful house families in the land, I'm not saying that's not for nothing, but I did fall in love with Nettles, not any of these characters. Like, I didn't care about Corlys. Corlys was the voice of reason, but there's a reason for that. There's one person who know they made all of the wrong fucking decisions. It's definitely Corlys. Like, I should have listened to my wife. Helena did all the things that you mentioned in the books. I get that she's supposed to be in La La Land, but if she's in La La Land, then you don't get to have her present. You can't have it both ways. I just don't like that she had to be someone who's seen the past, the future. That's another show fucking thing. It's another one of the things that's trying to make her the brand of it all. I don't need a copy and paste of Game of Thrones. I don't. It feels like Game of Thrones pandering, and I didn't show up to this show because I wanted necessarily another Game of Thrones. I had that. I thought this was going to be a completely different take on a woman's path to power in this world, and the sacrifices and also the choices they have to make. I thought that was an interesting enough story, especially when we already had in the other show, kind of, women were in a somewhat powerful role, but they were not at this level of power where they're actually sitting in the room making the decisions or trying to make the decisions. Alicent told Rhaenyra, like, it don't matter, because it don't. It's too late. You already killed his son. I can't control him. And I think that's something that is too late to think about. But I think she honestly thought she was doing the right thing, or she wanted to do the right thing. Or that he would come around, Viserys would come around to her more, what's the word I'm looking for? Come around more to what is traditionally, that's the word I'm looking for. Traditional versus non-traditional. They do have another son, Maelor. They haven't introduced him because I can already see the writing on the wall of the rape that's about to happen to Helena, so that Aegon doesn't feel like he has been castrated, because he doesn't have an heir, which puts him in a very vulnerable position. And I think after next week's episode, which is Rook's Rest, which I can tell you all about if you really want me to, but I already know what's going to happen there. I can see that scene happening as, yeah, they've already said we're going to make him the new Joffrey. Once again, I don't need another Joffrey. Actually, it's a shame for the actor, because the actor, I just saw him in the Book of Clarence, and he's freaking hilarious. I saw him in something else, and I'm kind of mad that that he's kind of having his talent wasted just a bit, by turning him into another Joffrey. As far as Kristen Cole goes, I'm right. I did not need to see the scene of him going down on Alicent. it doesn't even seem like those type of characters. She's someone who's been her whole entire life on her back. If she's going to indulge in a sexual anything, it's still going to be within her characterization for it to be very discreet. Not only discreet, but not in, like, that seems like something you would find in a pleasure house. And both of them just feel too uptight for that not to be, like, it would make more sense if he was, like, combing her hair or something. Like, chivalrous, if you know what I mean. What else you said? Oh, the thing with Eamon. Yeah, they're also ruining that character for me. Because they're doing the whole Freudian, love. I just don't. They're doing too much. I didn't need the penis scene either. I think they probably felt, well, we showed all these titties, so now here the women. Look, I don't want to see a vagina and I don't want to see a penis unless I decide to click on Pornhub. I don't need the sex scenes to be so realistic that I am watching effectively porn. Yeah, the dick in the mouth. We can get it. We know what these pleasure places have looked like. It's just bad taste at this point. I don't want to see it. I don't think it's necessary. It takes away from everything else. And how after this episode, Eamon is not being like, you know what? I'm going to take your throne. Because he deserves to. I just can't be bothered with this show anymore. So that's why it's over. It's why I'm no longer podcasting on it. It's not interesting. The writing's shitty. The motivations are getting shittier. There were more characters I liked in season 1 than I did in season 2. Right now, there's just no one I care for. I liked Allison. She was probably one of my better liked characters. Not always because I was supporting what she was doing, but because I could understand. I know you said it's not that complex, but it is complex when you love someone, but that love is you're fighting against that love and the need to show them that love. I think that's a complex thing to, as a mother, have to deal with. On maybe from the outside looking in, sure. But there was a lot going on there that I had a lot of empathy for. And the actress actually does a lot for me because I think she's a really good actress. I think she's the better actress. And I think that everything about what her performance and her arc was like was compelling. And then I had Rhaenyra over here who was pretty basic. And while I would have had no problem rooting for her, I am not emotionally invested to stick around to do so. And I don't want to see them do anything else to what I thought was a really strong character arc for some people. They just not going to explain why Sea Smoke. No one's going to ask a question, is Laenor dead? I can understand why the people who think Laenor is dead would be like, Sea Smoke's up there. But why is Rhaenyra, who knows that she let that man go on a boat, talk? I mean, that's what I mean. Like, all the shit that they're just forgiving just because they don't want them to be bad characters. That is not a, in my opinion, organic way of writing. And it's showing. I'm not going to rant anymore. That's it. If you have lingering thoughts, you can definitely put them below. Until next time, peace, hair grease, and blacker magic.